Okay, cool. So yeah, the holochain, you know, I would love to even just hear a little small blurb about it if you want before other people get here. They might already know about it.
Okay.
The advantages of using it. I'm hearing that it's better.
Right. Seems like, oh, Bret just chatted us, I think. But
Or you can tell me after Bret leaves.
did he come in?
Hey, Bret.
Hey guys.
Hey, Bret. Well, Josh, what do you know about holochain already?
I just know that from what I've heard, you know, I need to actually invest. There's so many things I need to investigate right now, but I've been, you know, doing other stuff. That it is a lot less corruptible. It's, I guess, holonic, right?
Yeah, that's a really generic sense. Sure, it's a more holistic approach to accomplishing the things that blockchain is setting out to accomplish.
Okay, maybe not then. So it's
and you know, yeah, it's
much less corruptible as well. So pretty much all I've heard is it's much less corruptible.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the aspects of that is that whereas blockchain tries to maintain this universal ledger of everything that everybody has to have a copy of, every application in the holochain world is its own holochain. Okay. It's its own entries. So that's one major difference right there, which solves the massive data storage problem that you have with blockchain.
Okay.
You know,
it's still
Bitcoin's
secure.
130 gigs. If you want to download it, if you're just messing with Bitcoin and Ethereum, between the two, you got half your hard drive space on a brand new computer eaten up, you know? So, and they're just in their infancy, both of them. So,
Cool.
that will become a problem. So it just cuts through the idea that there is an absolute truth in the world about anything, which is a more natural approach to understanding reality.
Cool. So it's still secure and it doesn't have to have the miners and all that other crap.
We can have a concept like mining, but those miners are doing something useful. They're not just spinning their CPUs to win a random lottery. It's doing something useful, which is, you know, providing calculations, providing data storage for applications doing things in the real world.
Cool.
Awesome. And miners can earn a currency called holo.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool. So on to the governance. Would you like me to show you guys what we have? Do you want to explain what you're doing? How do you want to talk big picture before we get into the details of decision making, or how do you?
Yeah, I guess I could. Definitely, that was the point of the call. To, you know, you tell me kind of what your version of organizational behavior and decision making looks like, and I can tell you, oh yeah, what I'm designing will work great with that, or oh, there's something that might need to be tweaked to service.
Sweet.
That particularly.
Sound good?
Sounds good. Is that okay, Ray? I just thought maybe if it was a quick version, we'd have a better context of what.
Yeah, no, that's great. I was going to start asking those questions just as you spoke up. So thanks.
So this is our little roadmap. We're doing a little tech development right now, which includes what we're talking about, technology round. We have a lot of different eco lands set up for training centers and villages and even sustainable cities. So that's the average price of each one is how much it would take us to ramp one up and get it going.
Cool.
With the plan that we have. And then these are sustainable tech. I've been doing sustainable business funding and business plan writing for many years now. Right here, you can see these are all the different, you know, business plan stuff. You know, you go into Transpo, you got the electric vehicle consortium, you have different cars and all that. I've been doing business plan funding for sustainable businesses for 20 million and over for about 8 years. And so what we have now is we have the 148 companies counted, which are part of this co-creative movement that we're doing. The movement started with, it's been going for a long time, but when Standing Rock happened, we became part of the Conscious Media Coalition. formed a couple alliances, the Green Tech and the Positive News. And we created New Paradigm Groundwork. We decided to do a resource request and a philanthropist request. And this is what we're doing with the help of 148 companies. So instead of getting funding for just one person, the people that, we're just, instead of everyone doing their own crowdsourcing, we're taking it from monetary to resources, because we realized that first, people are tired of being asked for money. Plus, if you want land, why are you asking for money instead of asking for land? And there's so many people that are already in line with the land that are already offering it to us that we're going to ask for resources, and we're going to all pool them together. We've already got some maps started. Okay, so this is that. I'm just going to skip past some of this stuff. This is what we're asking for. This is what we need from the philanthropist, what we're asking for. This is how it makes money. Okay, so here's the thing though. So this is telling you that people are not ready to inhabit these spaces. So we're gonna match people and train them before we just throw them into these spaces. Hey, Ray.
Hey.
So here's basically what it looks like. So we have the people that are coming in from these different organizations, correct? This is a merging process for business that goes far beyond just a crowdsource campaign. It goes into organizational structuring and regrouping. So we have something called Tribe Match, which matches people to each other and to events, communities. And we are developing this with two companies, Montaya and Tribal Village. And what happens is when people are, the people come from these 148 organizations, each one of these 148 companies has their own media presence. They have their own list of maybe 1 million people that trust them, and that they already have their own marketing. They have all their own stuff. They have their own face and logo. They shoot out to all their people and they say, hey, who out there wants to donate, has resources or has land, or they contact their philanthropists, their multimillionaires, and say who's ready to sign up for building the new world. And we create a large crowdfunding campaign together. Each company runs their media campaign. From this, they also get everyone to sign into Tribe Match. So they're all now everyone's actually matched to each other based on what on the outline, the master outline, in creating the new paradigm that we agree on. I mean, you obviously aren't going to get stuck into a master plan if you're not in line with it. You don't have the whole thing in front of you, step by step. From here, they're trained and placed into a specific project. So instead of working in silos and companies, we're talking about working on projects. So if we're working on cryptocurrency, and we're all in line with the master plan for the cryptocurrency, we would all be working together on that instead of reinventing the wheel and working separately. But we wouldn't all be in one big group working on it. As you guys know, through self-organized teams, we might be working on teams of 6 interlocked with other people, but it's a way for all of us to basically drop our companies and work together on these holistic systems, villages. And so as they get regrouped and trained, let's say that we have like 14 people that we bring in from different companies that are master technicians, tech people, or maybe there's 14 people that are designers of human electric hybrid cars or hybrid electric cars. We have 14 of the top leading scientists, R&D guys from different companies. We can create a master car. We can create the best product we can possibly create, the best car. And if some of the other people decide not to jump in, then that's okay. We don't have to have everyone. But basically, we're creating experiences with these. And so how this looks for us, once we have the different event centers, the training centers, and the the villages, then how we see the economy working, we can definitely kickstart it, and that's fine. But really, if we have the land and we have organized people and we have at least just a little bit of money to get there and start, if we have a donated place with the buildings already in place, which we do, we could actually probably even just film it and have some income cash off of that, or just even a little bit of money for the first few months, or each person pitches in, or however that looks. We start to regroup and work together, as you guys are probably already starting to experience. And our currency, for what I'm envisioning at least, is what we would call experience points. So at this point, if you're giving someone access to a land that was given to you freely, you're not going to be able to sell it and make money off it, first of all. That's just the first thing, period. So it's not a money-making thing. It's a lifestyle and experience. We're stepping into a new lifestyle, a new experience, and we're stepping out of the old paradigm programming into a new earth. And we don't want people who are stepping in with programming and with, we don't want people that aren't matched to what they're stepping into or trained and don't know what's going on. We don't want to have to like have a bunch of momentum and have new people constantly stepping in, unless it's a training center built for that.
Right.
So the new currency, what we're envisioning is, whether people help now or later, is access points. We call them experience, because you are creating an experience. So they have access to, let's just say, level 1 would be experience points, would be access to training centers and retreat centers. They can go get the training to step into a village or something else. You know, maybe there's a city in the future. But before that time, they wouldn't want to pop just straight into the village. They want to, know what's going on and work with their team in real life, create harmony. It's kind of like you're putting band members together. You put the flute player, the drum player, and you get them all matched, but then you still have to actually have a time when they get together and learn how to play. And decide if they want to, So, everyone gets to decide, do I want to be trained by you? And do you want to train me? Like, no one's forced to do anything. And you know what I'm missing here? This is the decision-making model. This one doesn't have it. That's why I was afraid. Okay. So.
Okay. That was helpful though. Thanks.
Yeah. It's a good overview. And, it's great that there's so much energy converging and the same ideas converging repeatedly. Cause I know, I'm part of a lot of groups working on some of the very same things. And I'm thinking you're in conversations with a lot of the same people, and that's great. And, governance is the key to all of this in my mind. As these groups are forming, as organic groups are forming and coming and going, where you do have those circumstances where people are saying, no, I don't want to play in your band, but I do want to play the flute. And this is another band that fits just great for my, so to allow that to all happen without drama, and just for people to just find their natural place, and for the different collectives to organically shift and form and grow, expand, break off, combine, all of that stuff is really the key to the thinking behind, everything I wrote up about governance.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's what we want. And this government's model encompasses that too. And people to be able to merge and to split. This is the outline that also goes along with what we're saying. So culture of collaboration is something that we have built together. We actually built it initially with Victor Warhawsky. You know him, right, Bret? He helped build it with us. And we have, so there's the training and the structure, and people get to switch out anything they want. So if they want to do a different style of agreements, there's our method, and then they can click on other people's methods, decision-making.
Cool. Well, let's talk about your method.
Okay. So our method's right here. So we start with training regulated by the culture of collaboration. So how that looks is basically we want to make sure that our calls, we've all done some work on this, I believe, where we can have certain calls that are designed for certain, some of them are introduction calls, for example. We kind of want to get a lot of that out of the way. We want to have like a video of each other. so we can get familiar with who's on the call, why we're there, have a little more context behind our calls. When we arrive, we want to embody some of our values, make sure we're building that trust, and then also taking turns, using a little bit, having more balance in what we're doing. If we're doing a presentation call, we want to know who's the presenter and when to listen and when to ask questions and when to just write them down. So just really having our call flow is the start in a way that we, our call flow. So having most of it covered by our culture. Okay. So
right.
Most of it should be covered by our culture, and it should be quick decision making. Like everyone that says yes, you go, does everyone agree? And we have a very clear idea of what you're saying. And they say, yes, I agree. I'm fully on board, whole body. Yes.
Right. Absolutely. That's one of the key points I make in my document, is that if you're attempting to run your organization based on voting purely as a means of executing decision-making, then it's not likely to operate. You're not really doing anything new paradigm, right? The object is that the vote is really kind of like a technical term. The vote is really a technical term that just means this: we officially have made this decision, and if there is any objection that wanted to be put on the record, it's an opportunity for the system to have that happen. But basically all the work happens in the phases you were just alluding to, where it's about how do we talk to each other, how do we come to decision making, what is the common sense of the meeting that's emerging from our discussions on this stuff, so that by the time you get to, okay, are we ready to decide? Yes, it's like everybody pretty much knows how it's going to go.
Yeah, and it's also it's not like so you'll see in this it's even maybe a little even tweaked different. I think voting in general is there's a part of it that's like, hey, we decided for you, and and there's also a part of it sometimes that's like, I understand that you guys are the experts in this, but everyone voted on this, and this is how it's going to go.
Sure. So that's delegation there, right? If you don't know enough, you can delegate your vote to somebody you believe does. And what was the other part? How does voting for you? What did you mean by that?
I just mean that the voting in itself, as calling it something a vote, it creates a situation where you might be signing up for something. It could be a big something that you don't want to sign up for because other people voted on it. And so it starts really like breaking through the glue and through the fabric of how people come together and the flow, because people are, in their flow, and then all of a sudden they get blocked from where they want to go. So what I'm saying is, as long as it's within the master plan that everyone agreed, and then let's just say you're on a group of builders and you create your own master plan for the building, for how you're going to build the buildings, and you make that proposal, and maybe you pass it through to everyone in the whole village, and they all go, yes, that sounds good. Or maybe someone has a problem with it and it gets revised, and you figure it out to where it's accepted. But somebody that doesn't know building wouldn't be making that proposal. Somebody that's not a whole systems designer wouldn't be making the master plan.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So each group specializes in what it needs to. So not everyone's doing everything. First of all.
Right. Okay. Sure. Yep.
Okay. So
that's accomplished, through what I called sub-ledgers, but they're basically committees that you can create and give those committees power to do things on their own, essentially, to make votes on certain kind of things. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So in this case, let's say we have a team that we've matched. We've worked together. We have a really good way of making decisions. We love working together, and we're doing great. And we know exactly what we're doing. We've created our own master plan. We're working right along on those steps, the next steps that we're supposed to, and everything's good. Something happens, and we have a decision that we disagree on. Say there's 2 people out of 6 that think one way and 4 that think another. Let's just give that scenario.
Right.
Let's bring it to a real world example. Let's say that 2 of them want to build with geopolymers, and 2 of them want to build with magnesium oxide, or 4 of them. Sorry. Okay. So they have different ideas of how they want to build buildings. Well, they would start with coaching. So they just can't figure it out, right? So they would start with getting coaching. So someone would come in and see if they could just help them get unstuck or look for a third option or whatever. If they're following what they're supposed to be doing and how they're interacting and all that. If that doesn't work, they have a decision-making process, and this is where we should be aligned in the beginning in our experiences. If somebody has a different value than you, and they value, let's just say, competition and let's call it control, competition, whatever, and you value co-collaboration and openness and sharing, you probably shouldn't be making decisions with them based on money.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to spend money with someone that wants to win and have it all for themselves, and you're trying to do something that's fair for everyone, you probably shouldn't be working with that person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a value wheel, and it was made by some Zeitgeist spinoff called the Futurist Playground.
Okay,
these are different values. These are synonyms of values, and they have a voting system. So basically, what you do is each decision you make, you would check against holonically you, the community, and the world. Does this decision fit me when it comes to the value of abundance, collaboration, efficiency, yes or no? And if you have a explanation, that's worth more points. That means that it shows that you're. And then if you have scientific evidence, that'll trump everything. But that's really hard to get. But if it does get to that, obviously scientific evidence would prove. Let's say you're doing a biodigester, and then scientific evidence, you do a study and you find out that one of them has a bunch of bacteria. It would change the vote big time from what people thought, because it's new evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So then the community, is this decision good for the community when it comes to abundance, collaboration, and then the world? And so you come out with a pie chart that says this decision either matches the values of the community or does not. And you can source this and have people vote on it throughout the whole community, or just within your group, or through the whole world. And you can have decisions mapped out, first of all. But secondly, you can also map out your own decisions, and you can just weed out the ones that are just not in line with the values that you created. This also keeps us from overproduction and starting up companies that might be in competition with our other companies, or might not be good for the earth, or it's a start on a checks and balances that we would normally go to some tribal elders or something to ask us what direction to go in.
Great. So tools for making decisions, and this is where all the magic happens. The magic doesn't happen in a vote process. The magic happens in a proposal and a discussion process, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Yeah.
And then, so this doesn't force anyone to do anything. It still doesn't force anyone. You have results that can show people, oh, okay, I see. Of course, you probably agree if it's just not in line that you can't do it. You just can't do it because it's not in line with your values. But other than that, if they both fit your values, you still get to decide, okay, is it going to be geopolymers, or is it going to be, a magnesium oxide board? So we have, from that point, if you still can't decide, you have the option to, you go build magnesium, we're going to go build this. Let's gather a couple people so we can do it. And we'll meet back. It's like you're on a building. You're building this floor out. You go over here and build that. I'm going to build here. I'll see you at the next level. I'll see you at the next floor, and we'll continue to work together. Or worst case, it's just you're not working together well for whatever reason. And this doesn't even have to have a decision. It could just be like maybe someone's moving, or they can't commit to as many hours as you. They have the option to split, but we're splitting evenly based on cellular mitosis, not on get the hell away from me because you didn't decide what I decided. I'm going to destroy your castle and take all the money.
Right, exactly. Great. Biomimicry at every level.
Yeah. That's the decision-making process that goes along with it right there.
Yeah. And so we sometimes refer to that as a fork as well, because from a software application design standpoint, that actually can represent an actual fork in your chain or an actual fork in your software code, or both.
Yeah. So so I'll let you speak. And how do you see do you think that's possible with the experience points? It's very possible because you're just having access. So if you have access to the retreat center or the training center and you're not in the flow of what everyone else is, everyone's in this, they're going forward, they're producing results, they're working on teams in a good way, and this space is made for yoga, and someone's coming in there and they're yelling and screaming in the yoga center, and that's not, and they're just kind of disrupting the flow of energy. They wouldn't be able to earn the experience points. And if they're not able to earn the experience points, then they don't have the economy to stay there. They have to go back to training.
Right. So that's accomplished through a fiat currency, basically. Fiat is just the term of one of the three, types of currency that I specify in my documentation. Fiat means it's just kind of there because you said it's there and it exists in the system. So that's the base core level. So that is just the definition of it. That's kind of the way I look at it at the core level, the software design, and specific applications to a specific collective who wanted to assign or give or create new currency and assign it to somebody based on the kind of rules you're talking about. That's an abstraction that we build on top.
Uh-huh.
And so, what's that?
Super easy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So it's just something, it's a customization of the application essentially, which is super easy. Yes.
Cool. Awesome.
This is really just an application framework. So like Holochain is the core application framework. The governance is a layer on top of that. And any customizations that you want to do to have the governance work specifically for your collective is in a customization on top of that.
Sweet. And so how does that get translated in the end? Is just on a piece of paper that says, this is what you're agreeing to, and then you say yes, or how does that work? Like a organizational structure, like it dictates everything. You look at it whenever you're in trouble or you're having a meeting, or how does that work? I don't know. I'm sorry.
Okay. Interesting. You might be alluding to some of the stuff I was just talking about, like in terms of the actual way your application functions. Uh-huh. That is actually its own decision-making body as well. So that's what I was just kind of alluding to. Right now, like in the Bitcoin world, there's these rules that got into put in place, the game rules that got specified at the beginning of the spin-up of Bitcoin, right? Uh-huh. And if you were paying any attention, you knew there was a lot of drama a few months ago.
I'm paying attention. I heard they were dropped. I felt something. I didn't know. I didn't investigate it. Yes.
Well, it ultimately led to the split between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash.
No, I didn't know.
Okay. So that got like super ugly. It got to like guys literally calling each other names in public and the press reporting on, and all kinds of silliness. For actually, I think it was really years that this debate was going on subtly, and it just grew and grew and grew. And there's no reason for that. That's kind of old paradigm way of approaching it. So where this system allows for, if there's a difference in approach and there's just one group that wants to approach it one way and another group that wants to approach it another way, we get to skip all the drama, even at the software level, even at the protocol level of how the interactions are happening in an application that you're currently sharing. You can actually split your application, split your data into two forks and keep operating as two separate entities. And so that can happen even at the software level. Like, so any piece of your software that's forcing you into a certain paradigm can be shifted at any time.
Any piece of software can be shifted. So what we were saying is, like, let's say that you want to change something. So here's how we're setting up the organizational structure. I wrote one up called New Earth Organizational Structure, which I based off of Holacracy. I didn't base it off of it. I used their template. It's more like the Inspiral. It's more like a simple version of the Inspiral. It has a little benefit that the Inspiral actually does have a board that controls everything, including the money. This one doesn't. So this one has if you're a builder, you're a builder. If you're a master planner, you're a master planner. Let's say you're a master planner. It starts with them. That's kind of like what you would call the core DNA group. They create a master plan. And they may have it's like creating an outline, like a bicycle. If you want different tires or pedals or wheels, you change those out and you go with the people that want to do that bicycle. We're creating the new paradigm, and it's a bicycle, but it's this bicycle. And so we all choose to work on this bicycle. It's got step 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 along with it. Those could change, of course, but they'll probably be good for the next few years. if it's a solid master plan. So how that looks is they say, here's the presentation of the master plan. Who's on board? You all agree? They say yes. And then everyone jumps into their groups. They get to know each other. They get to know their processes of how they're interacting. That's all in the master plan. That's all in the organizational structure. And they start working together. And the money, when it comes in, it goes towards step 1, step 2. So we're not building the windows and the roof tiles when we haven't even got the foundation going, which is right now what most people are doing. They don't know what to do, so they're not on the same page. They're doing different steps in different places. And then if something on the master plan does want to change, anyone at any time can raise their hand, of course, and talk to the team and say, hey, what about this? For anybody, to the builders, to anyone, of course. And even, possibly join them if they want to get trained and want to do that, because it's project basis. So once a project's over, we regroup and reform. And it's an evolving system. But if the builders want to make their own master plan too, and then they get it approved by everyone. So every group would make their own plan within that framework of the master plan and get it approved. So everyone knows what everyone's doing. Everyone has a clear roadmap. And then I don't know quite yet how the teams work together. I guess it would just have to be like 1 or 2 people from each team getting together and sharing information, or on an online platform or something.
Yeah. So that's another one of the beautiful things about this particular implementation I'm proposing of governance, is that collectives are easy to create and dissolve anytime. So you can create collectives, as many different collectives and sub-collectives as feels appropriate for the different working groups. So that if you have one collective that is your community collective, represents like a piece of land that everybody's going to go buy and go live on, right? Yeah. You can easily break up sub-collectives to handle you can have the electricity build, collective. You can have the home building collective, and whatever makes sense can be organically created. And voting power within those groups can be dynamically decided based on what makes sense. And you put in, of course, for each of those things, you put in rules for how those dynamics change as well. And it allows all groups to just kind of organically interact. And then the next thing I recommend in there is that for each collective that's created, you look at the other collectives you're going to be working with, identify your mission statement with theirs, and see where the collaboration points are. See where there's a win-win relationship, and have that clearly defined between each collective.
Yeah. And so we have a process where people can regroup. So like I said, they're working on projects, not on, hey, we're the New Earth Nation, or we're the ASC, or we're the, whatever, new map. It's like, instead they can all work on together. They go, well, I'm working on cryptocurrency and this and that, and I'm working on this. And they don't have to, they can take it step at a time. They can start to work together with contracts and all this stuff, or on an access basis. If it's an open source matter, they can just work on it. They can send a guy over to work on your team, and you can just, as if they were part of the collective, you can just completely work together 100%, as long as it's open source information and you're cool with that. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's the beauty of it, just to allow it to organically form and adapt the way people do already. It's just, we're just allowing it, taking out some of the drama. I think a lot of the drama comes from a lot of the times what happens in organizations I've seen in my experience of being an organic kind of activist, where it's very not top down. All of a sudden you realize one day that somebody has power that you didn't think they had. Like, you thought this was a fair decision making where all the voices were getting heard and kind of decisions. But then one day you find out, when there's a conflict, that actually this person really holds all the keys to all the important things, and it's really up to them, and everything else they were doing was just for show. I think so. This system has everybody define all those things up front. If there's somebody that's going to be actually the benevolent dictator of the group, that will be a known factor.
Yeah.
In these collectives, because they operate transparently. If you want to take a look at any collective, you'll have the opportunity to go in and see who has the vote power, who has equity power, who actually would benefit if there's a financial gain in this collective.
And I personally don't work with anyone like that. Our current organizational structures for me don't work. They're either what you're talking about, a sole proprietorship, where I pay everyone to help me with my vision. They get no say-so in it at all. And everyone's helping me because I have to have enough money and time to run everything because no one's going to do it for me. Or there's a nonprofit and they can't make a decision and everything fails.
Right.
And I won't join in with any of those old organizational structures. Call them a collective, call it whatever you want, but they're still going to have an organizational structure behind it. And I'm going to say that that's more important than the business plan itself.
Yeah, sure. Having a shared fundamental values and a way of operating and making decisions. And of course, that's everything we're talking about.
Yeah. And so, having some way to work. So yeah, the question is like, who can we work with and how, once we establish our collective, let's call it a collective, we have our master plan, we have our bike we're making, whatever you want to call it. And we go, yes, this is what we're doing and this is how we're doing it. And then just having a very clear, like how people can jump in and play and who can play and who has access. And in our model, once we get a little further down the line, right now we're in transition with this, cryptocurrency and building the villages and getting the technology developed and all the, seeing how we're going to come together and all this stuff that we're doing. But once we get there, what I'm envisioning with the experience points is whether you buy in as an investor and you're getting a return. Hey, Ray. Good to see you, brother. And then either whether you buy in or whether it's all paid for. Let's just say the retreat's paid for and you just get to show up, who knows, whatever. Maybe you're just working, you're part of the group and you have access. All physical goods are no longer in the new currency, are no longer anything because they're shared. So they're all part of the common collective. So in that space that you're in. So if you're in a new paradigm living center, everything physical is shared. I mean, of course, you can have a personal computer or something that you personally would steward, but you have access to whatever you have access to based on access, not based on ownership. Mm-hmm. And then the only thing left is there's really not much to block us from moving forward together when it comes to financially. And then the only other thing to block us would be how we're structured.
So
yes. May I add something to the mix?
Of course, Ray. Well,
hi, Ray.
Good to see you.
Hi there. Good to see
Ray
you.
Powell here.
I know. I saw you.
Okay, great. I didn't know if you recognized or not.
I did.
Good to finally, yeah. Good to finally
Likewise.
see your
Likewise.
face. Yeah.
Likewise. So, on the thread that you're speaking to, drama comes from childhood trauma.
And
pretty much, yeah, exactly, pretty much. And so we looked at this from. So there's a lot of synergies from what our group is doing and what you guys are doing. I shared a couple. I'm
going to give you another link in. We have less than a minute. I'm sorry, I'm on a free thing. I'm going to jump another link to our chat room.
Okay. Are you gonna send it to me on Messenger and just click back in?
Okay. There. We can start again.
Okay.
Yes. Very good.
You get to see that? Can you see it?
Yeah, I've got it open here, and it's called Glyphs and Graphs.
Right, but in there is a research paper that comes from my friends in the Netherlands, and it's
under work.
Yeah, there we go. Complexity is the thing that I want to share with you guys, and basically a lot of the things that you're speaking to, Naveen addressed they've been doing this for a little while as well. So they figured out certain things. So I want to bring up two things. One is, I was jokingly saying, childhood drama and all that, but it's true, as you know, in experience. And so I want to kind of bring to attention how we make decisions and at what level. So
are you talking about me? I'm just joking.
So are you familiar? Did we talk about this last night about ladder of inference?
I did not hear about that.
Okay, so this is based on Peter Senge's work, and it's kind of foundational to why we're doing with the Free Your Life tribe, why we're trying to come at it from the inside out, and it's kind of like this. So most people respond to an event. Some people respond to a pattern. Some people respond to the structure. Some people, fewer people yet, respond to the mental model that creates the structure. And fewer people yet responds to the narrative that creates the mental model, which creates the structure, which creates the pattern, which creates the event. But everyone has kind of a similar shared human value or human intention at that very, very core level, and that manifests into a story. So I'll give you a for example, and so you know where I'm going with this. So let's say that your roof is leaking. That's an event. Okay, so you respond to that by getting a bucket. So that's a one-time response to an event. Once you understand that every time it rains, the roof leaks, then you get your buckets ready as soon as it starts raining. So you're responding to a pattern. And so your way of orienting towards that situation is getting buckets. Very soon you start to realize, well, it's leaking because there's a hole in the roof. Now we're talking about it from a structural point of view. So you go, I need to fix the roof. If I fix the roof, then when it rains, it won't leak. That's what I need to do. And
that's what we're, I'm sorry. Oh, that's what we're talking about sort of here. Is structural is where our conversation is, but we can go higher. I think that's where you're.
That's what I'm trying to get to. And so basically, so that structure now is we respond to that. Centralization is bad, so let's make it decentralized. You know, that kind of thing. So we don't like this structure, we'll do this another structure.
Yeah.
But that structure, so when I go to fix the roof, well, my mental model is based on, you know, immediate response. But if I shift my mental model and go, all built environments are subject to entropy. So I need to basically save up so that every 5 years I can replace the roof or fix the roof. And so I kind of build it into my mental model of having a structure called the roof. But beyond that, so I go tell my neighbors that, hey, let's all, save up money so that we can all have our roofs fixed every 5 years. Your neighbors go, what are you talking about? I don't even know if I'm going to be here the next 5 years. So there's a disconnect between your narrative and their narrative. But ultimately, what all of you want is that depending on why I have so now if I'm operating at an intention level, then the story that I hold to manifest that intention is different. The story that I hold to manifest the mental model that I hold to hold that story is different. The structure that I create is different. So let's say I'm always moving around. So do I really need a physical roof? I need a public transportation roof. Or if I'm out in nature, do I really need a raincoat or a tent, or do I need a roof? So depending on what my situation is, what do I need the roof for? Is the roof for my biosafety? Is the roof for my cognitive well-being? There's a whole bunch of reasons. So I start to look at my story differently. I start to look at the structure. I start to look at the mental model differently. I start to look at the structure differently, and the patterns and events are different than what I'm used to responding to. So I'm going to bring that forward because that's kind of at the essence, at the heart of what this thing that I just sent with you is. It's really looking at governance from the inside out. So I'm sure I haven't looked through your stuff, but I'm sure you guys have thought through a lot of these kind of issues. Is really understanding the personal narrative of people coming into it and why they're making the decisions that they're making and what they're trying to solve. So one of the ways that it becomes very effective is to have a share.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a question.
Yeah.
That's almost like lean startup, right? Where you're looking at their main problem in life and you're looking at a solution and you're comparing solutions in a way that will provide the best solution.
Yeah. Well, no, you don't even look at it from a solution point of view. You look at it like, what is the, so for example, let's say somebody comes in and they want to take all the credit, which is no different than the greed paradigm, right? I want to have control. I want to have power. Okay.
Credit, sure.
So that's based on that's an existential fear that my coping mechanism is fear, is power and control. So that's built in. That's deep programming. Okay. Yeah. To now alleviate that. So structurally, I need to kind of start with a new story of me, and the new story of me needs a mental model of where I can find psychological safety, so that in that space it doesn't serve me to be greedy. So an example of that, let's say, is social media forums. If you come in with spam, which is your way of getting validation from other people, that's your mental model of how to feel relevant. The group says, no, if you're coming in with that shit, we're not, you're not providing any value, and you're going to be excluded from the conversation. So now it's a trigger to me going, if I want to be excluded from the conversation when all I really wanted was validation from the group, well, I better not do that behavior or look elsewhere where I can bring that mentality into it. Right? So this kind of understanding it from that point of view will help navigate this. So that's at one level. So I wanted to kind of just bring that up, and what I want to put forth is that there's many groups around the world, including ours, and I'm looking at people who are solving their problem in their own context. So a very good analogy is open source. So open source is very interesting in that sense that you have to be able to prove yourself in certain contexts before you can touch source code. So it's a gradual spiraling up. And I'm sure you've thought about that, because especially when you're bringing up in spiral and those kinds of things, it's a gradual processing up before you can touch those kinds of things. But it's more even from not necessarily a structural point of view, but the motivation point of view. Because sometimes you'll get to the end state and then you go, oh, that's what you had in mind all along. You're just playing along until you can come to a situation where your true colors are revealed. So we want to kind of circumvent that at a much earlier stage, where you have kind of a cultural buy-in and there's checks and balances much, much earlier before you get into where, there are higher stakes involved, where there's resources and things of that nature. So you know that you're dealing with high integrity individuals before you come into it. And so part of the way we're holding that, and we're also happy to share that with you, bring you into the fold, is really understanding both the techniques and the processes that we're employing to make sure that once you graduated from this, you really are in that mindset and that integrity, and you're accountable to other people, where you're not going to fuck around, even if that's in your programming and it'll surface at some time.
Can I say what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
So what I think I'm hearing you're saying is, there's the event, and then there's fixing the roof, and then there's actually the structure of your roof, and now we're talking about working with other people, and we're talking about, okay, there's a context that actually underlies even that, us working together, because we all are on different contexts. So, there we're talking about tribe match again. Who are we working with?
Right.
Who has access to this open source information, and how are we working together? And what I'm hearing you say is, in this old paradigm, as we interact with people, especially on a financial level, we're really running across a lot of basic assumptions that, in dealing with people that are really coming from a point of trying to gain credit. Because in the old system, if they gain validation, then they get more governance shares. They're going to be seen as more of a smarty pants. And, people are going to listen to what they say more. And so, because the system is so random and crazy, that's how it works at this point. So we need to be very careful not to get sucked into that. And we need to really glue together and really start mapping out this initial core system. The way I've always worked is, I start out in the future. Here's what the best case scenario would work, and then work backwards.
Right, and you need checks and balances at a much smaller nodal level, because there is a power dynamic. So what happens is, when you put any game into play, just by the nature of a game, there's going to be a win state and multiple lose states. And so what ends up happening is, a few people learn how to game that system very, very quickly. And so this is the reason why we'd in the past had externally enforced these things. So basically, we would do things like creating the middle class, for example, because when you put a game like capitalism in place, that it's going to get hijacked by people who are very good at grabbing all the resources, putting a fence around it, and putting their name on it. So you put something in place where you introduce external enforcements so that it doesn't get out of hand. Now, we don't have the luxury of doing those kinds of things at that high level, and not that that's a good way of doing it in the first place. So It's really looking at it like at the very basic agreement level between two people, what are the checks and balances, and then how does that scale to a third person and the fourth person, and so on and so forth.
Totally.
Right. So I want to just kind of bring that up, and there's a lot of knowledge and a lot of things. And so the second thing that I want to bring up is that there's groups who've worked that out. So one of the ways that, that we try to look at it is that instead of trying to figure it out from the ground up, which is what is necessary, we know that the old paradigm is broken at the very rudimentary level.
Yeah.
We just start over. But let's look at people who've solved it for a different purpose in some other place. So there are people who've had successful best practices in creating platform co-ops. There are people that have had successful best practices in creating, local governance. So let's take the thing that's working, and then let's iterate on that rather than starting completely from scratch. And part of kind of coming into a global conversation is you start to understand multiple worldviews of people solving things, and then you go, what's universal about this? And I think us, we had this conversation when you and I spoke, Josh, is about, we're tuned to be scouts within a tribe. We're just that. We're not the ones that kind of, maintain the village. We look at the edges, and that's just our personality and our tuning. So naturally, people are going to look to people like us for leadership to define direction. How do we do this? And I'm guessing all of us are alpha in that way, as Raymond as well. From the conversation that I gathered, is that we see things ahead of little ahead of everyone else. And so it's very important how we hold that space moving into it, because everyone's looking to us to kind of project their reality onto, because they're coming in with all kinds of shit, all kinds of baggage, but they're looking for that. And so how we hold that and how we hold that conversation is important. And the other thing that I wanted to share with you is that I shared the kind of our approach, which is kind of coming at it from culture, experience, and capital. So the capital thing is a big, big deal. So the conversation that we're having with impact investors, funders, people with family wealth, all of that is, what does the future of investment and money look like? Because we really want to get away from the proxy model to direct agreements. So instead of having an instrument or a coin or anything of that sort, it's really the underlying intentions behind those things. And let's facilitate that at a human level first before we decide on the construct of a smart contract or, any number of things. How do we arrive at that? And let's keep that conversation happening in parallel so that we can have a collective pool of resources to add to all of our projects. And even what that looks like, how we pull from it and how we contribute to it, how we create valuation out of it, and what even we look at value itself, what that's about. Let's have this ongoing conversation. So this whole thing becomes like a threaded conversation on multiple layers. It's happening at a metaphysical layer, it's happening at a metaphorical layer, and it's happening at a mechanistic, manifest layer, all at the same time. And you don't want to skip layers, but you want to be mindful of what's surfacing so that one can inform the other.
All right. Wow. Good stuff, Ray. I don't know how much of Josh's and mine conversation you caught, where basically I'm just, everything I hear you guys talking about is so beautiful and perfect. And, obviously the level of consciousness and thought is high, and I appreciate that. And so what keeps reoccurring to me is that we really are building the structural building blocks to enable all of those iterations that you're talking about to happen. For instance, when you say we don't know, not every game applies to every group of people, or not every circumstance for proposed outcomes for a group, right? Not every same formula works. So what I'm actually building in the governance system is a means by which you have the core building blocks of how do you interact. Now we can play with the different ways of interacting. We can change the rules of our game.
Right.
As we go. And in fact, we can change the rules of our game as part of the game.
Right.
So we're actually building those building blocks. And so that, and then this way, it's all transparent. It's all recorded history. It's all open for anybody coming into an organization to take a look historically at how this organization has set up their game and how they transition their game over time. Right. And yeah, so that's what really keeps reoccurring to me. And when you mentioned, really what economics looks like in a new earth, it just reminded me of the one document I already had actually posted in that chat thread there, but I reposted it now. I think, and it is. It's not about the currency itself anymore. We have to get away from that, giving value to these things that we invent. We need to give the value to the intentions and the resources and the energetics behind the interaction, and just putting metrics on the interactions that are already happening. That's all a currency is now, which is seeing the current in the flow. That's already happening.
Totally. Love it.
Right. And the reframing is so important because right now in our world, we already have those instruments, but we don't look at it that way. So for example, Facebook is the global town hall. It's already there, but we don't frame it that way. Or for example, if you look at what currency is, it's a unit of measure, it's a medium of exchange, and it's a store of value. Now, store of value conversation we just had, but the unit of measure and the medium of exchange, well, a like is a unit of measure, but it expires. It doesn't hold value. Messaging is a medium of exchange. It's real time, but it doesn't store value. So they're actually quite effective in the digital world already. They're quite effective in doing the thing that they need to do, except we don't create that. We don't account for those things in the way exchanges happen. So we can use existing tools, and part of creating great tools is that it's seamless. You don't even feel like it's a tool. So we use language as a tool without even thinking about it.
I think that what I'm listening to you, the purpose of storing value is this is what I'm just thinking, is so you can basically gain focus. Like right now, messaging could just be unfocused and it could get absolutely nothing done, or it could be amazing and get a whole bunch done really quick and efficiently. And so that value gets lost, doesn't get stored, doesn't get tracked. I see that. Unless it's all part of something bigger, which in this case we sort of are. We're weaving together a bigger picture together.
Correct.
But that currency is a way of gaining people's focus and going, look, you want the currency, you got to go this way.
Right.
Okay, so that's how we're using it right now.
Right.
So this is where we get into conversations of master plans. And so, okay, everyone's going the same way, they're on the same page, but what's going to motivate them to go there?
Yeah.
So we have our teams that motivate them. And then we have the access. So, if they're not doing what they need to do, they got to go back a space, right? Go back a space.
Mm-hmm.
But to win the game, it's not really based on like the old model where it's like, the more whoever makes the most money wins, no matter what, even if it's creating nuclear weapons, and in the old model also, it's kind of like the game of life. You spin the wheel and you get dealt a dentist or a doctor or whatever. And that's just, and it's all based on money. And in the new one, we get matched with our purpose and our passion.
Yeah. And another way to look at it is, you can still gamify it, but instead of whoever gets the most, which is the orientation of what's in it for me, to whoever contributes the most. So the more
contributionism, yes.
Yeah, more contribution relative to consumption, because you're going to consume and you're going to contribute. So your contribution value relative to consumption, that's really your bank balance. So you have more contributions in the tank than what you've consumed.
Yeah. And I would say that's mostly based within your team, like we're talking about. Like we can handle most of that within our culture and within the team's checks and balances on each other and saying we're all working together, we're all throwing in 5 hours a day each, and and then there's also the results. You can take it to the gardeners and go, okay, is the gardening happening? I'm sure that's a little simpler, but it's really hard to judge someone. Basically how I see it's like this. If you're on a building crew, but you're not producing as good of results as the other building crew, it doesn't necessarily make you wrong, even if you're working the same amount of hours. Maybe they're more professional. Maybe the reason they're grouped together is because they are more master builders. Right. Now you have to decide, does that mean that they get more value in the end? And I would say that the results of the group should have some valuation attached to them. And maybe that would be, so for me, that would be a higher level experience point. So you would be able to go enjoy another experience in a place that actually has maybe more free time in the end, or more, just different set of rules or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of really good thinking and tools that's kind of surfacing. My business partner, Eric, he spent some 11, 12 years coming up with a valuation system of relative measurement. And so we've transformed that into a really interesting rating system. So Eric had this thing called the Ursula Project. I'm sure you guys have heard of it through the grapevine or whatever. And it was a universal.
Not yet. Link it if you would.
Yeah. I don't think he has a live website anymore, but like all the guys, so like, you guys know Forrest and Daniel and those guys?
What's Forrest's last name?
Forrest Landry?
Yeah, and Daniel. Yeah, sure. Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel. Yeah. So we were in these conversations, a decade ago, and so this thing kind of evolved, and so it's a really kind of smart way of measuring value relative to outcome. So it's basically what did you do relative to what we all agreed upon. Now there are some gaps in logic because Eric's a very analytical guy, and he didn't see the things that are immeasurable. He thought he could measure everything, and so part of our collaboration was that these things don't need to be measured. In fact, you don't want to measure most things, and you actually don't want quantification of most things. You actually want.
It's a waste of time.
It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. So you come into implicit agreements, and you have explicit measurements where it matters. Where it's building a building, building a car, that's where it's important, but not in other areas.
At the end of the day, value is what people say it is.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah. And
exactly. You can come up with formulas all day long.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yes, and if it's kind of like being in a marriage, if you or you say you're in a family and you go, I want this, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. If you can go around all day long saying, I want, this is how I want it to go. I want it to be like this. I want you to take the trash out. I want you to take the trash out. And everyone can just go stating what they want, but that's not really co-creation.
Correct. And what can I do?
Yeah.
What can I do that's in the best interest of us?
Yeah, and so the paradigm of value is runs in the same context where people are like, I'm valued at this. They can say that all day long, but when you get into a co-creative model and you're taking 4 or 5 companies that are merging together, when you get that kind of attitude, it automatically ejects people from working together. So creating that model of us, that starting point where we can work together and not have it be in a way where it's co-creative, where it's like we do it in another manner. Maybe you guys have some insight on that starting point.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. So let's do this. I just kind of just learned about this call this morning, right? So I have a packed day today. So unfortunately, I got to get going in a little bit. But I want to kind of leave with a part ways, not leave. Part because it says leave on the little top thing right there.
Leaving.
Yeah, but with some kind of practical considerations moving forward.
I'm writing it down. I'm writing down what you're saying. Go ahead.
So one is in terms of resource sharing. So in our group, we have a wealth of information and knowledge resources, one, but most importantly, capital resources. So capital resources, we're actually creating something together with the investment and the financial community to talk about the future of money and investment and then converting fiat into crypto. And it's a pretty kind of pretty well-crafted method. So basically, the way it kind of works is you take fiat investment, you find out highest and best use by doing systemic accounting. And systemic accounting is an example like let's say if I was investing in the well-being of a city, I would invest in education because that will save me the cost of prisons and hospitals down the line. Preventative, more focused investments. So I know that I'm going to get more bang for my fiat investment, number one.
Yeah. And then, at minimum, your view on these things are going to attract others that agree in an open collaborative environment where people can move between collectives as easily as they, choose a TV channel.
Totally. Correct. Yeah. Correct. And so be able to collect all these funds because it's actually a better guarantee than So, are you there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So we're getting interrupted with a call, and so how to take the actual human level organizational agreements and make them more viable than the instrument over time. So how do we create a bucket of and even changing the language of, instead of calling it a smart contract, they are aligned understandings, or things of that nature. So basically they're open to revision, they're open to deepening understanding, they're open to simplifying language. All of these kinds of things, when we have alignment, it's much easier to get things done and get the outcomes that we want. So this whole process is mapped out in the way people understand the world today, and basically de-risking their investment portfolio. What they have right now.
You have an aligned understanding. You have some kind of questions behind that?
Yeah. So we have. So this is kind of emerging in our space right now, and we're talking to. So when I go to San Francisco next week, I'm presenting at a couple of places that used to be anything but new paradigm. So I'm presenting at SOCAP. I'm presenting at this other place called Evolutionary Leadership Institute. I'm presenting at Stanford, and basically what we're talking about, and so we want to bring the mainstream into it through this kind of bridge points, and to basically say that, look, you're not happy, you're not getting what you're wanting, you're not being able to deploy these billions and trillions that are sitting in your bank account, you're waiting for that status quo to restart, and it's not going to, you can see it. Okay, exactly. So now we're offering you an education process that's co-creative education process, because we don't have the answers. We're surfacing questions. We want to bring up questions and concerns that you have, so that we can actually do this thing together and create a greater resource pool, and we can bring you very vetted, interesting opportunities for you to get your return on intention. And so that's conversation I can't have by myself, but I'm having that conversation with people who've been in the industry, who've been thinking like this, who understand the language, who understand how to bridge it from their perspective, and really whatever the triggers are, the motivations are to put your resources into it to manifest the worldview that you want. That's really what investors with deep pockets want. They want to manifest the worldview that they have. And so we want to kind of address those things at the root level, and bring them forward. So that could be something that we can share as a resource. So I'm putting that to you, that there's knowledge to share, there's resources to share, there's worldviews to share, and capital to share.
All right. Ray, I would really love to, if your presentations are going to be available to watch either live or recorded, I'd love to, be able to sit and get the full download there. And then we briefly discussed when we talked a few weeks back, whatever applications you have in the pipeline that potentially we can talk about. Looking at building them as holochain apps, definitely now is the time.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I look forward to connecting with you on that.
Yeah, likewise, exactly. And so it's gonna get video, media coverage, and all that, in the whatever TEDx world. So we're tapped into.
Oh, you're
that,
doing a TEDx? Okay, great.
No, I'm not doing a TEDx. I'm doing this right now. It's going to be covered by European media, and they're doing a professional video production and all that. But going forward, I'm going to go back to Europe, and then that's a TEDx thing.
Okay.
So okay, so. Same thing, same stuff that I'm sharing, but it's just different.
What part? I didn't know if I'm in Germany now, so.
Oh, you're in Germany now. Okay.
Yeah, I'm in Dortmund.
Okay, good, cool. So we're gonna be in Sweden, in Stockholm, and we're also going to be in Amsterdam. Great,
that's not far at all.
That's not far at all. Yeah. And then Naveen, the thing that I shared with you, he's in Amsterdam. He's in Amsterdam right now. So there's some really cool collaborators from around the world that are doing amazing things, and I think and the conversation around creating holochain apps and all of that, and I'll invite you to the Slack channel. I think you've been on the threads, but I'll invite you to the Slack channel today, tomorrow, and we can start to collaborate and create the conversation. There's a lot of really talented people that are kind of joining in on the conversation. And so I just want to bring that forward. And then let's kind of think about as our next steps, as we get into deeper conversations, what real world needs that you have at the moment. And if we can satisfy those for you and for us.
And what pieces we have. I didn't quite get that out of this conversation fully. Like, which pieces we have. I see, Raymond, that you have some very integral pieces, which I'm definitely going to follow up with you on before your talk. I have some things to offer you that can help you with your talk, I believe.
Cool.
But also the pieces that you have that fit into the start of everything, which is the matching, the tribe match. You said you've got some great questions. I've got some too. Let's put them together. I've got a website that it can get launched on right now. So we can start to get people matched so they're not, and starting to get aligned understandings going. The quicker, the better. I think that's a very big next step.
Yeah.
With Raymond, I would love to hear more on what pieces, we have that we're playing with together when it comes to the currency. So, as we know, these two things go side by side. We have to keep them both going. And just to know what pieces you have and how we can support each other in that too.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you as much that the governance system will allow you to create your collective and instantiate your currency, in about 10 minutes. So
10 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, literally when it's ready. So that's that part.
Okay. How much?
Yeah, I was going to say something else. But, have you connected with Amber Gibson recently?
Are you talking to me, or are you talking to Josh?
Actually, I was talking to Josh right there.
Amber Gibson.
Yeah, or Madeline.
Magdalene.
Yes.
Yeah, that was talking with her. She's one of the ones that's on the. I was talking about tribe match. Her, me, and
right.
Maya. Yes.
Okay, you're calling a tribe match. She's calling a tribal reconnection.
Tribal reconnection. She's the other group, and she's done a lot of the work, and we've done tribe match.
Yeah.
It was
great. Just making sure that the conversation is.
And Montaya, they're coming up at the same time. It's the same.
Yeah.
In different places. Yeah.
As it always does. It's so beautiful. I'm glad we're all in the same space.
Cool.
Excellent to spend time with you guys.
Yeah, likewise. Wonderful. And I had a hard stop at 1:30, so I need to get going, but to be continued, and always a pleasure.
All right,
great,
guys. You guys are awesome.
All right.
Good talk. We'll
See you, Josh. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. We'll talk again. Bye.